Good evening. We'd like to call the city council meeting of February 13th, 2024 to order. We are at 7 PM. It's 7 PM at the council chambers at the Olivet City Center, 1140 Dealman Road in Olivet, Missouri. Roll call, please.
Mayor Weil,
Present.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Here.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Carl,
Here.
Councilmember Knox.
Here.
As many of you have heard this past week, Chief Hank Davenport passed away. And we just want to take a moment of silence, followed by a few remarks from retired Chief Knox, who worked closely with him. Councilmember Knox.
It's good evening, everyone. First of all, I remember not only my good friend, but the good friend of the community here in Olivet. I met Hank 46 years ago today.
Wow.
I met him in February 13th, 1978. We were sort of like the odd couple. He was from the country, I was from the city. But we became very good friends. Becoming a police officer, I was very proud of, so was Hank. Everyone knew Hank in the community. The children throughout the community, they all knew Hank. And he was a special person. And he was very kind. He was very trustworthy. The kids trusted him. He was the first juvenile officer in Olivet, and he went on to become the president of the Juvenile Association with the state of Missouri. Hank was he was a good athlete. He was a great tennis player. He played tennis in the police Olympics. He played doubles. I can't remember who the other person was. I think he might have been from Chesterfield, but they used to win first place every year in the Olympics. When I first met Hank, he was a sergeant. And the other thing that he influenced me and others, was education was a big thing. And he was finishing up graduate degree back in 1978, and I hadn't even started going back to school. So, and he told me he was influenced by a long-term resident from Jeff Koplow, was the one who pushed him to go into going back to get his degree. And he pushed me, he pushed a lot of people. And as we know, the current chief, we know how important education is in our field. And we have several officers in the department with graduate level degrees. Well, Hank Davenport started that. But the main thing is, he was a good leader. He was a good friend. He will be missed. But he not only was he a police officer, he was the best apple pie maker that I've ever met.
There you go, the crust.
And yeah, I just had a half a pie about 3 weeks ago. He and his aide made an apple pie, and I used to go see him on Sunday mornings, and we would have coffee with Hank and Jan. But he left a legacy here in Olivet, and I am very proud to call him my friend. Thank you, Mayor.
So on behalf of the city council, we would like to offer our condolences to his wife Jan and his 3 sons and the daughter-in-laws and the grandchildren. So he will be missed. Thank you. And for those of you that don't know, there will be a celebration of life at Five Oaks that the family is holding on Thursday from 4 to 7. So, thank you. Next item, please.
Item 3, communications.
So at this time, I'd like to invite Zachary Barrett up to the podium. Oh, it's not working. Oh, it's working. So for those of you that have not met Zachary, he's a senior at Ladue High School and he has just become an Eagle Scout. And so we'd like to present him tonight with a proclamation, and it reads, Olivet in the center of it all, proclamation. Whereas Zachary Barrett, a resident of Olivet and member of the Boy Scout Troop 344, has attained the rank of Eagle Scout, and whereas Zachary's service project consists of building dog houses for the Humane Society of Missouri, and whereas Zachary has helped lead his troop as a patrol leader, troop guide, and assistant patrol leader, and whereas Zachary has been active on the chess team and robotics team and is a member of the National Honor Society and Spanish Honor Society, and whereas Zachary Barrett has displayed outstanding leadership, exemplary service, and made remarkable contributions to our community. Now therefore, I, Maxine Weil, Mayor of the City of Olivet, on behalf of the entire City Council, wish to congratulate you and honor Zachary Barrett for his outstanding service to the community in becoming an Eagle Scout. Congratulations. Congratulations.
May I say something?
Yes.
I wanted to say congratulations, not just to you, to your mother. I have I have 2 sons that are Eagle Scouts, and I understand the sacrifice that parents go through in order to get your child to that level. So not just congratulations to your son, but kudos to you and your hard work for getting your son to that point. So congratulations to you too.
And when Mrs. Barrett and I spoke, I understand that you continue to work with the troop and you've got a whole group of sophomores, another 4 or 5 kids coming up. And we hope that they'll consider Olivet for a project for their Eagle Scout projects. So. Great. Well, thank you. And thank you for bringing Zachary's accomplishments to us. Next item, please.
Item 4, city manager's report.
All right, good evening, everyone. As usual, we'll have our Olive Crossing update. There's nothing new for the full site improvement plans. Those are complete. As is the lot 4, which is the apartments. I will say that they are about 33% leased as of February of 2024. And Mr. Yowitz said that it's always slow in the wintertime. Who wants to move when it could be icy and snowy? But leasing has picked up in February and he expects it to continue into the spring. So they are 33% leased and continuing to move forward. Lot 3 is the multi-tenant retail space. The Smoothie King lease has officially been signed and they are working to schedule construction start. I believe they have in fact been in contact with staff as far as construction plans, and we hope to see those shortly. Lot 1 and 2, this is the Aldi location. So I know that they have also been in contact with staff for plan review. So hopefully contact now will make for cleaner plans when they're submitted, which means faster construction. And they have also submitted a consolidation plat has been filed with the city. So the point of the consolidation plat is to consolidate lots 1 and lot 2 into one lot for the Aldi. So I'm sure that will be coming forward in the near future. Lot 5 is the office location, and there is no update for that, as well as lot 6, which is the hotel. And they're continuing to work with their operating partner to come up with hopefully a timeline to get lot 6 moving. News around town, other than the traffic light that is misbehaving at Olive and Tillman, the city of Ladue has let us know that they are gonna do some improvement work on Dealman, which is the road right here. Okay, this is north, okay? So in order to facilitate that construction, Dealman Road from Ladue Road to Tamarack, which is essentially the border between Ladue and Olivet, is going to be northbound only. So you will not be able to go southbound on Dealman from Tamarack to Ladue. And, you know, so this is like the big stop sign. You're not going to be able to go southbound. You can go from Old Bonham and Dealman all the way down to the border with the city. So all of our residents will be able to get into their, you know, into their homes here, but it's going to be, you know, northbound only from this point. The detour is going to be onto Old Bonham. And so folks are going to be routed along Old Bonham to Price and then down Price, and then they can go either direction they would like to go on Ladue. So we expect that this will begin February 20th and go through August 31st. They're making improvements to the sidewalk and to the road within the city of Ladue. We've already put this out on social media. Public safety has been made aware of this. And so we're just trying to get the word out additionally that when you see those signs go up, this is why.
Does that mean that their construction trucks and things that happen for Ladue are gonna be coming down our road and doing some damage to the road we've already repaired?
No, they should be staying on Dealman. Part of the reason that they are doing northbound traffic on Dealman only is so that the construction trucks can park on Dealman.
They can go. And those trucks can also go straight out to Olive. They don't have to come down Old Bonham.
Correct.
And I was focusing on the damage to Dealman Road, so taking Dealman Olive, still, I'm asking on
Right.
the pressure and the damage and the dirt and all the other stuff that tends to be
Yeah.
like it is right now on the north side from the project beginning across the
Oh,
street.
I
Yeah.
see. Thank you for the clarification.
And you know, our partners in Ladue, their engineer is pretty responsive. So if for some reason we see issues on Dealman with, you know, construction traffic or dirt or things like that, we can certainly reach out. We have a good relationship with them. So as evidenced by the fact that they gave this to us, you know, well in advance.
Is Mr. Gartenberg still there with Ladue?
I don't know. My contact is Ann Lamontola. She is the Director of Public Works.
Okay.
Mhm. So Coffee with the Mayor is tomorrow. It will be Wednesday, February 14th at 5 Oaks. So please come join the mayor and Joelle Aguiar from Republic Services. She's going to talk about all things recycling up at 5 Oaks tomorrow at 8:45. Another upcoming event, if you are in need of a furry friend, the fire department is sponsoring with the APA an adoption event here at the city center in the fire department, February 24th from 11 to 2 p.m. More information is available on the city's website and also in the Olivet Weekly. Another upcoming event, the planning department, along with the Economic Development Commission, have created Business of the Year awards. So residents and council members can nominate your favorite Olivet business or resident. You're certainly welcome to scan the QR code. Information is on the city's website. It went out in the Olivet Weekly. You can nominate up to 3.
Businesses or restaurants?
Both.
Okay, because
There's a category.
I think
Oh.
you meant restaurants.
No, residents can nominate their
Oh,
favorite Olivet business
Or
or
restaurant.
restaurant. They're
Perfect, thank you.
two separate categories. You can nominate up to three. And then the winners will be reviewed, well, given their awards at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon in the spring. And then, speaking of the Chamber of Commerce, we also have the firefighter and police officer of the year. So congratulations to Rachel Williams. She is the firefighter of the year. And congratulations to Lieutenant Garrett Wood. He is the police officer of the year. They are voted upon by their peers, chosen by their peers. They are going to be honored at the chamber event on March 8th. So if there are members of the council who would like to go, please let me know so we can get our RSVPs in, or you can certainly let the city clerk know as well. Excellent. Yes. So if you know, please let me know so we can get our seats in. And then, of course, this is the, sign up for This Week in Olivet. You get all kinds of information about city events, and the newsletter is scheduled to be in mailboxes by March 1st. So please look out for that as well. And then last but not least, we have additional upcoming meetings. Please note the Planning and Community Design Commission meeting has been canceled for February 15th, but all the other meetings are at their regularly scheduled dates and times. And if they have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Okay.
thank you. Next item.
Item 5, city council reports.
Before I was looking at that, because I think our next city council meeting was not listed. That's why aren't we on for February 27th? Okay.
Yes, we're
I
on
just
for
want
the
to make sure
27th.
that's on everyone's radar. So, okay. So before we begin, city council reports, we do want to acknowledge tonight that on February 1st of 2024, the Planning and Community Design Commission unanimously approved the 2024 Comprehensive Plan Update, which serves as a guiding document and foundation for decisions and recommendations on the new developments, redevelopments, and other land use decisions for the next 20 years. The city of Olivet engaged the community throughout the planning process. The plan represents the cumulative results of a multi-phase public planning process involving public meetings, surveys, focus groups, and interactive activities over the course of 15 months. On behalf of the City Council, I would like to recognize Shockey Consulting, Planning and Community Development Director Carlos Trejo, Senior Planner Dawn Doty, Rise Community Development, and the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee for their leadership and direction during this process. A special thank you also goes to everyone who played an active role in providing invaluable input to create a vision for the future of Olivet. Your interests and suggestions have helped create a plan that represents the wishes, needs, and priorities and desires of our community. We look forward to the future of Olivet and can't wait to see all that it brings. So congratulations, Carlos, and everybody else. It's an exciting time for Olivet. And I think with that, I'll turn to Missy Waldman, Chairman Pro Tem, to give up planning and zoning, a PCDC update.
All right, I appreciate that. The good news is the previous Planning Community Design Commission was February 1st, was the continuation of the public hearing for remarks with regard to the comprehensive plan before Planning Community Design in their role per state statute adopted the comprehensive plan, which you just acknowledged. There is no meeting for February 15th. They're very busy, and this gives the team the opportunity to continue to work on things that are coming forward to the community. So with that, I give it back.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Knox.
I have nothing to report.
Councilmember Carl?
Today I attended the pension board meeting and they passed a motion to do what I would call some rebalancing, a little bit of tweaking here and there, but nothing major. And if anybody wants the details, let me know and I'll talk to you about them, but I don't think anybody does, so.
Greg, there were no shifts in anything, no shifts of where money would go?
Well, yeah, there were some basic shifts between that's exactly what I'm
Okay,
saying. When I
okay.
say rebalancing, I
Okay.
mean, they're gonna shift money
Okay.
around based on how the
Okay.
performance they believe is gonna happen.
Okay.
But it's nothing like
on
what
the
I would call a
Same
major,
difference, same
a
meaning.
major direction change or anything like that. It's just a little bit of tweaking,
Okay.
so.
Thank you. Councilmember Clark?
I had nothing to report.
Okay, I'll go back, excuse
that-
me, but I cut off Councilmember Knox. He had a question.
I
for-
have a question. Was the new employee representative at the meeting?
He was not.
He was
No.
not. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next item, please.
Item 6, hearing from citizens.
I do not believe we have any hands that have been raised. And so we'll move on to the next item.
Item number 7, Bill 3021, an ordinance amending chapter 240.080. Is that really? Yes, of the municipal code of the city of Olivet relating to establishing fees for parks and recreation programs and classes. Second reading.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Beverly Tucker Knight, Parks and Recreation Department. This evening, we have a second reading for adjusting the fees and policies at the Stacy Park Pavilion. Thank you. Next slide. So just to give you a quick overview of our pavilion rental program, which will help you understand what we're doing at Stacy Park. We rent pavilions in all of our parks. Each one has unique characteristics that either impact the number of people that are allowed to use the pavilion, the times of year that they're allowed to use, and then the activities that can happen there. This year, Indian Meadows Pavilion, we are not reserving due to the construction with the Centennial Greenway going through the park, so we won't take any reservations there. However, if someone wants to drop in and use the pavilion, it is still open, as is the playground and the restrooms, as of April 15th, when we reopen for the winter. Stacy Pavilion is our largest pavilion. It accommodates up to 250 people. And you can also tell there that it's the largest. The pavilion itself is 2,200 square feet. And then when you add it with the patio around it, you have about 5,500 square feet to host an event there. So it really is a specialized feature in our parks, and it has much stricter rules and regulations about what can go in there and what can happen. And when I say stricter, I mean, we monitor it a little bit more. The other pavilions, you're not allowed to have some of the things that can happen at Stacy, but in order for those activities to happen at Stacy, we have special rules, special event permits and things like that. So next slide, please. So a quick overview of the process. When you want to reserve a pavilion, well, first I should remind you that anyone can use the pavilions whenever they like on a first come, first served basis for free, because our parks are open and free to all. By reserving the pavilion, what you're doing is guaranteeing that during a certain date at a certain time, that pavilion is available for you. So I want to make sure people are kind of, it's an important detail to think about when we think about our pavilions. Paid reservations are offered a year in advance. You can book your pavilion a year in advance, and Irveside and Villa Parks can be reserved online. And the Villa, Irveside, and Indian Meadows Parks are open from April 15th to November 1st, because that's when the water and the restrooms are on at the parks. Stacy Park can be reserved year round because it has heated restrooms and we don't close it. However, its primary usage really is spring through the end of fall. When you reserve Stacy Park, however, you must reserve it on the phone and actually speak with an employee or come in person. If you're doing a special event, you actually have to have an appointment, meet with the staff, and oftentimes do a site tour of the park to make sure that we know exactly where you're going to put any vendors that are coming in. Then when a reservation happens, we have signs up in the pavilion, we have frames that go in, and the park staff update those to let everyone know who's using the pavilion when. Next slide, please. So we have a current fee schedule that was adopted. The most recently was adjusted a couple of years ago when we added Indian Meadows fees into the process. But other than that, our fees have stayed the same since about 2015 or 2016 was when we last updated all of these fees. So you can see here that there are half-day rentals, full-day rentals, and then large group, there's a large group fee if you have over 150 people at Stacy. That's to compensate for the extra cleanup, extra trash, and all the other things associated with large groups. And then if someone does do a special event, we charge $100 to cover the time it takes to go through the process, to make sure that we've collected all the insurance certificates from the vendors, and that all of the back end work that the staff do to prepare for a special event. Our half days are 9 a.m. to 2 or 3 p.m. to dusk, and then a full day is 9 a.m. to dusk. Yes.
May I step and just ask you a question on that?
Sure.
You've got the large group fee, 150, refundable, 150, special event, 150. If someone is renting the Stacy Park Pavilion and doing what they need, are all three of these 150, 150, and 100 collected?
It depends on what you're doing. If you have 100 people, but you're not having not having vendors come in, so you're not having food trucks, or you're not having a bounce house or something like that, you don't have to pay the special event fee. So they're not applied to everyone. And that's why we require that you meet with someone to go over all of the rules. Okay. Yes, no problem. And we came to that over a long process of how people were using the parks. Okay, next slide, please. So we learned a lot in 2023 because, as you all know, we renovated all of our parks, and Stacy Park had a significant makeover to the pavilion. It's absolutely beautiful. It was closed for a whole year, and during that time, some of our renters that had used it previously were very excited to come back. Not all of them knew that it had been renovated. Not quite sure why. But we also learned a lot because this was the first year we had a full-time staff person working both Saturday and Sunday in the parks for many years. So what that person was able to do was to report to us Monday morning everything that happened in the parks. And unfortunately, we learned quite a bit about how people were using our pavilion. So our goal tonight is to modify our fees and policies to increase compliance by our park users, to make sure that people are having the events that are appropriate and working within our confines to have a great event, but also protecting our pavilion for future uses. Next slide. So I'm going to show you kind of a series of things that our weekend workers took pictures of. So here's someone who set up a cooking station right against our beautiful mosaic. So you can see there's a barbecue with frying right there, propane tanks, which are not allowed in the park. To the side, you see someone that pulled in a giant mobile barbecue pit. And you can see how close they are to our tree. They actually hit the new tree. Their wheels, that's a double axle trailer right there that we didn't know was happening. It jumped the curb and came in and caused quite a bit of damage. I've tried to shield the names of all of these vendors and the people using them because we really don't want to point fingers. We just want to get compliance in the future. Next slide, please. Here we have a food truck that drove straight up the ramp. That's not a ramp, it's an ADA ramp. And you can see how close they came. Again, this group, we did not know they were having a food truck. We certainly didn't give them permission for this. They came very close to running over our drinking fountain. And this group also left a lot of trash. When there's a storm, people tend to bug out and then they leave all their debris behind. So we have quite a few problems with that. Next slide. This is a group that brought in deep fat fryers, and you can see they did put down some cardboard, but you can also tell that the spray from the deep fat fryers went far beyond that. They also, more propane tanks in there. This is actually completely illegal from the health department. So the health department would never allow this. Again, we didn't know this group was coming in. You can see there's a large crowd there. This group told us they were having 130 people, and they probably had closer to 300. So, and then to the side, you can see what happens when people decide to create their own pathways into the park. So then we have to go back, reseed, restraw, and try and clean it up. And we deliberately did not put a curb cut there because we did not want trucks coming in here at all. Next slide. Okay, so what we're doing is, in order to come into compliance, we are suggesting a few things. First of all, what tends to happen at Stacy Park is we get very large rentals. And if someone has reserved Stacy Park for a half day on the weekend, that large rental has no option to go to another park because of the capacity. So they try and squeeze their event into a half day, which really makes it difficult. So our first recommendation is to, on weekends only, allow a full day rental, and really make sure that when these big events come in, they really have the adequate space and time to do what needs to happen. We also keep the half day option for weekdays. So really what we're talking about is Stacy only and impacts for the weekend. And then that refundable damage deposit Monday through Friday, keep that in place for groups over 150. It's very rare that we have groups of that size on weekdays, sometimes on a Friday evening, but not as much, again, because of the setup that's entailed. So typically on Fridays, we'll have company picnics that aren't quite as big as the really big family events on the weekends, or big family company picnics. We tend to have like corporate events where it's just for the employees to be there on a Friday. So what we are suggesting is to have the refundable damage deposit for every rental on the weekend, every rental. And then this way, coming in the morning and leaving in the evening, it allows the staff member time to service the other pavilions and not try and service Stacy at the same time when you have such a significantly larger group. So it takes quite a bit of time for the staff member to empty the trash cans, clean the restrooms, and get it ready for the next group coming in. If Stacy were the only place this person were working, it could potentially be doable, but we have other pavilions that are being serviced at the same time. So this allows the staff member to come service this pavilion like around 11 o'clock, then go do the other two at Villa and Irvine, which are closer together, to ensure that they stay on time with their half-day rentals, and then can go back to Stacy in the afternoon. So we're not looking at increasing the use fee for the parks, but really changing how the parks are used to ensure better compliance. We also internally will have then, we do the special event contract with the person, or whatever their rental contract. The staff member will then do the best that they can to meet those vendors on site beforehand, and then at the end, because we will be withholding these damage deposits for these groups. In the past, we weren't able to necessarily withhold them because it's their word against ours. But when you have one rental in a day, it's very clear. We can absolutely do it. And the photographs, they speak volumes of what's going on there. We will keep the special event fee. So I am happy to answer any questions at this time.
Are there any
Before
questions?
our final slide is the motion, so we can go to the motion and then come back if you like.
Okay.
So this is our recommended action this evening. And I would like to say that the Parks and Recreation Commission voted unanimously to support these recommended changes to the council.
I don't have any questions. I commend you on doing that, Beverly. To see those photographs, they speak volumes. Thank you.
Chairman Pro Tem?
I agree. The photographs tugged at my heart. So I'm gonna ask those questions that tend to make me tug at my heart. So those folks that, I don't know who they are, but the photographs were there. Were we able to maintain the deposit money to repair what was damaged?
This year, we were unable to, because again, we were unable to say emphatically that you were the ones who did this.
Okay.
We really is unfair to say we're withholding your damage deposit and we can't prove that they did it. Now, we
Okay.
have those photos, but
Okay.
you know, that happened on a Saturday and a Sunday group, if they also did the same thing. So now we will absolutely be able to moving forward.
Okay, so best practices are being put in place based upon the experience. Okay.
Yes.
I too really appreciate everything that's been done. You know, this is the jewel park that we have. Our citizens have added tax, expenses onto their taxes for this. And, I would hate to see this, begin to, fall apart and get ripped apart because people that rent it don't live in our community and there's just not that connection of pride and joy. It's just their connection of enjoying something in a beautiful park. So thank you all very much. And
And
I
I
yield back.
should say that we have equal opportunity violators. There are many residents that have abused the park as well as non-residents. Yeah.
Yeah, you're out the more than I, and I appreciate that. And, we just need to do our due diligence as you're
Right.
doing now. Thank you.
Councilmember Clark.
Thank you for your hard work. When I saw the pictures, it didn't tug at my heartstrings. I'd like to use some other choice, colorful metaphors. But it makes me mad when people come from outside of our community, tear up our park and just leave it.
Some of those photos are residents.
Be it residents or,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
really
Yeah,
does make
yeah.
me mad. It's like somebody coming in your yard and just tearing your yard up that you spent all that time to fix up and you come in and just leave it a mess. I hope you make sure that you get all of those deposits and you hold them to the letter. Make sure that whoever rents that park leaves it like Boy Scouts, better condition than it was when they got there.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
kudos to you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Carl, do you have any comments?
I do not.
I just had one question. Well, the pictures with the propane tanks really bothered me, especially. And my concern is moving forward, when something is like that, do we have the ability to shut that down?
It's difficult. It's difficult. So it is an ordinance to shut them down, but it also puts our officers in a horrible position.
Mhm.
So, we can't ask them necessarily to do that unless there's a more severe violation. Unless it is like an open flame situation or something like that. And I could be wrong, and I don't know if you have some guidance on that, Beth.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Beth Andruski, Chief of Police. So we can, but essentially what we would need for our officers to come in and say, the party's gonna be shut down. We would just have to get something from like Beverly or Patrick saying this party needs to end, and then we could, being that she's the director of the Parks Department, we could, use her as kind of our complainant essentially and close them down. So we would just need to kind of get word that it needs to end, and then we could go.
So I guess my words, so what do you do with the propane tanks? Like, if that's happening and you have an on-staff parks person, do they report it to somebody and then they
Yeah,
have to just turn them
oftentimes
off?
I get a call on the
Okay.
weekend. They very, very often call me. Sometimes I come out, sometimes I've taken the pictures.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I know there's residents there.
Okay.
It's a tough situation because again, you have a giant crowd there. They've expended a lot of money on all of that. So my ideal situation is to get in front of it and make sure when they meet with us and they sign those contracts, they understand what we're doing. And oftentimes people have been drinking. So if it's a really big issue, we'll absolutely shut it down and absolutely work. And we send the police department reports of what's going on in the parks each weekend. Peyton sends a report to Woody to make sure he knows what's happening as well.
Additionally, I believe you said the goal with this full day rental is to be able to have a staff person meet
Yes.
the
Meet them when they
individuals
arrive.
when they
Right.
arrive.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
hopefully seeing any propane tanks before they ever get set up
Mhm.
can be addressed at that point in
Right.
time,
Right.
instead of in the
Proactive.
middle.
Yeah.
Very
The
good.
first picture we showed you of the tent that was set up against the wall, that time I was actually able to drive in, and that was an event company that was setting up on behalf of a resident who'd rented the park. So I spoke with the event staff and they moved everything away so we didn't get any stains on the seat wall. Because that was my primary concern, is not to get any of that grease or anything on the mosaic and the seat wall. So they worked with us. We knew we had the paperwork, so we knew who that was. But again, it really comes, the burden is on us in the office when we make that reservation to make sure people know that we are serious. This is our rule and you will lose your deposit. And if it doesn't work, then we will come back and ask for a higher deposit. Because I think money absolutely speaks volumes to people that we're serious.
Chairman Pro Tem.
Thanks, Beth.
So let me follow up on that just one more time with a little bit more detailed question.
Sure.
In the contract that you go over with these people that want to deal with Stacy Park, is there language in bold, like we have in some of our planning permit, language that says no propane tanks?
Yes, there is. And there's a lot, because we have a lot of rules. It's a very long list.
Okay.
And a lot of it's bolded and some of it they have to initial.
Okay, so now I'm gonna be a stinker. If we have that, is there a way to deal with, you are gonna be in violation if you have this propane tank and you will be given a fine by the mere fact that you brought the propane tank and set it up in the park?
That I don't know. I don't know.
For the short, I should consider not. So I think one thing to keep in mind is the ordinance versus the park rules.
Mhm.
Park rules are not enforceable by the police department, of course. So we have to follow exactly what is in our ordinance versus those rules. So that kind of is when you kind of circle back to, hey, they're violating all of these rules of their agreement with park. Somebody like Beverly or Patrick would say, we're gonna have to shut them down. They're causing too much of a problem with what's going on. And then we can kind of circle back and enforce that ordinance, if that makes sense.
And if the future, we continually see this, even though we have an individual on the weekends that can monitor that, then I would say come back and we need to
Mhm.
put a violation monetary penalty on
Yes,
that
we
pattern.
absolutely can do that. Yes. Thanks, Beth.
If there are no more questions, I'll be happy to entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve Bill number 3021, an ordinance amending chapter 240.090 of the municipal code of the city of Olivet. Recommendations with regard to all-day Stacy Park permits.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox.
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil.
Yes.
The motion is passed. Bill 301, I'm sorry, this is 3021 becomes 2791.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 8, Bill 3022, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2774 of the city of Olivet, Missouri by revising the city's fiscal year 2023-2024 budget. First reading.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Darren Mann, and I'm the Finance Director for the city. And in front of us today is First Amendment for some housekeeping items. This one, the housekeeping part of it is there's two parts. There's a schedule here down below, that final 2 pages of kind of the mechanics of what's going on here. First, there's the bigger item is to provide funding for our contractual agreements with surrounding the construction of the police covered parking. If we rewind 6-8 months, we had a budget in the previous year to construct the covered parking. We had an agreement to do that, and we had a budget money to do that. It was anticipated to be completed by the end of June during budgeting and it wasn't completed and it was not encumbered or rebudgeted. So now to fulfill those contractual obligations to pay them, we'll need to do a budget amendment, and that's for the $300,000 again. That, and then the second part is we had another development in our vehicle and kind of fleet vehicle and pass down plan in June of 2023, and that was involved the totaling of one of our vehicles. And with that, we did receive insurance money, and this is kind of all developed in June. And now what are our needs for our vehicles? And this would provide $30,000 for the purchase of a vehicle in the planning department, which is a first, I believe, for Carlos, at least in 10 years. Usually they're passed down and to arrive at his at the planning department. So with that, more than happy to answer any questions today. Or we can we'll revisit for the second reading in 2 weeks on the 23rd, 7th. Okay. Yeah.
Do we have a car? You know, what's the status with looking at the car for the price
You
of
bet.
30 grand?
I think the belief right now, depending on maybe some availability, but it'll be a smaller crossover SUV, more like maybe like a Ford Escape would be a really good, or like a that's what we're looking at right now. It would depend on availability at the lots, but first step is for the budget amendment.
Okay.
And then we'll
Are there-
see, you will see the approval for that. You know, of course, when it's for the purchase, when that amendment is done and all the paperwork's ready. So
Are there any
That's
other
fine.
questions tonight? Okay, so we'll see you back on the 27th,
you bet.
or in 1 minute. Next item,
Item number 9, Bill 3023, an ordinance repealing chapter 240.100 of the municipal code of the city of Olivet and enacting a new chapter in lieu thereof relating to waiving of rental fees for 5 Oaks on Warson and the city center community rooms. First reading.
I think it's first and second. I think so. I'd just like to check in with the city manager. This is a first and second reading, correct?
No, this is a first reading.
Oh, it's a first reading only. I
This is a first
apologize.
reading.
I wrote it as a first and second. My
It's a first
apologies.
reading.
So
No,
this,
it's a-
good evening.
It's a
Oh,
first reading.
sorry. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Beverly Tucker Knight, Parks and Recreation Director. This evening is a first reading of a new ordinance that governs free use of city facilities, primarily the community rooms here at the city center and 5 Oaks on Morrison. As this is a first reading, I will answer any brief questions you have, but there'll be a more full report at the second reading. Thank you.
are there any questions for tonight, or, okay, we'll see you on the 27th. Next item,
Item 10, request for document destruction, Parks.
Good evening, Beverly Tucker Knight, Parks and Recreation Director. I feel like I'm Carlos when he has his like 4-item nights. So this evening, we are requesting authorization to do secure document destruction for some records, primarily registration forms and associated rental receipts. But we also will be destroying some of the permanent records from
1906.
Yes. So the state statutes are very clear on what is a permanent record and what we can destroy. So we are going through and we will be destroying things like service agreements on equipment we no longer have, and all sorts of interesting things associated with the old community center. But we are keeping some treasures. So we are keeping the original blueprints.
You're not keeping the keg in there.
Yes, and we have some keys that I'm going to be delivering to Missy Waldman. A nice little key. So so it's a little bittersweet, and there are a lot of papers that we are going through. So
Let us know if you find Missy's grades.
her report card buried.
My mother has those in a shoebox in my basement.
we do not have any school records. We really don't. The only thing we really have of the schools are the blueprints. Yeah.
Okay, we need a recommended action tonight, if anyone would like to make a motion.
You have a recommended, it's there's one
Madam
included
Mayor.
on your cover sheet.
I make a motion, we approve secure destruction of documents listed in memo dated February 13th, 2024. Second that motion.
Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil.
Yes,
The motion is passed.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item, please.
Item 11, request for document destruction courts.
So 'tis the season for spring cleaning. And the court office has secured permission from the presiding judge to also destroy some documents in compliance with their records. So it would be municipal ordinance, paper files, from 2018, and then violations from calendar year 2019.
Any questions?
None.
No,
I'll be
Madam
happy
Mayor,
to-
I make a motion, we approve secure destruction of documents as classified and described in memo dated 2/13/2024.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox.
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil.
Yes,
Motion is passed.
Madam Mayor, I do have a question of the police chief.
in regards,
Define securely destroying
was
your
courts.
documents.
It's the
So
court.
we have, so this is court records,
Sure.
okay? So we have a contract with a shredding company who will come and they will securely destroy and provide documentation certification that those records have been appropriately and securely destroyed.
Okay, thank you.
Next item, please.
Item 12, request to surplus parks vehicle.
Okay, is this Ms. Oh, okay. You're giving Bev a break.
I don't
So a part of the shuffle of vehicles that's currently occurring, this is one of the first steps toward replacing a parks vehicle and part of the regular fleet maintenance. And so this would be a request to declare our 2015 Ford Explorer, the black one, the DUI vehicle,
The free one,
as the,
free one.
yes. Yep, as surplus and to be sold at auction.
No, we went got an agreement. Take that out of a hat.
Yep.
Wow.
That's right. So it's made the end of its useful life. And so we're recommending it to declare surplus and to be sold.
Bunch.
About 87,500.
That's a bunch.
That's actual miles.
Uh-huh.
That's not idling miles.
Okay.
So it's probably twice that much the engine. Probably idle,
Beat
just
up-
sitting there.
Beat up like my minivan.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be happy to entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to declare asset 01427 as surplus.
Second,
Second.
thank you. Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil.
Yes,
Motion is passed.
thank you. Next item, please.
Item 13, Public Works 2024 F-650 equipment build.
Bruce is not feeling well, so he asked me to present this item for him, and it's a pretty straightforward build of a plow. And again, sorry, the build out of a vehicle that was purchased earlier this year off the lot, the Ford F-650. Just got some there was 2 quotes that we received after letting this out for an RFP. And you can see the quotes are there with Woody's Municipal Supply being the lowest. And this would provide a bed and then a small crane on the side of this guy. So more than happy to answer any questions, but
Are there any questions?
No.
How does what you have meet up to the full capital improvement amount of 135,000?
it puts it, Bruce confirmed last week, it puts it right underneath of it.
Okay,
Well, within budget, yeah.
for everything, for the entire kit and caboodle.
Yep, that's
Okay.
that's right. yes.
Okay.
Good question.
I'll be happy to entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to authorize the city manager to issue a purchase order to Woody's Municipal Supply to supply and install equipment on the F-650 chassis in the amount not to exceed $46,710.60.
Second motion.
Thank you. Call for the vote.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox.
Yes.
Councilmember Carl.
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman.
Yes.
Mayor Weil.
Yes,
Motion is passed.
thank you.
Good, thank you.
Next item, thank you, Mr. Mann.
Item 14, approval of MoDOT hazardous moving violation enforcement grant.
Mike,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so this agenda item is just another request for to enter into a contract with MoDOT for traffic enforcement, specifically for hazardous moving violations. The grant being requested is for $5,000, which would go towards officer overtime working those special enforcement grants. Aggressive driving is reported to contribute to 54% of all traffic fatalities on average across the state. So this is something that we try to participate in every year, like we've done for quite a few years now. So I would just request the council to authorize the city of Olivet to enter into one traffic enforcement grant with the Missouri Department of Transportation, namely for hazardous moving violations. If you have any questions,
Are there any
happy to answer.
questions?
Come on, guys. Yes, I have one.
Sure.
I have one after we approve this.
Okay, and maybe you might know the answer too. So, how many hours is $5,000 worth of time?
It's a good question. I would have to break down the numbers for you. Some of that depends on also who's working the grants. Obviously, our overtime is calculated at time and a half.
Okay.
So depending on if you have a brand new officer or a senior officer working, that can kind of impact those, but I could break down and get some of those numbers for you. 100
hours.
Well, that's why you have the finance guy here.
100 hours? Okay, thank you. Thank you both.
Okay. Councilmember Knox? No?
Oh.
Okay,
I-
then I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to authorize the city of Olivet to enter into a one-year traffic, one traffic enforcement grant with the Missouri Department of Transportation, namely hazardous moving violations. I second the motion.
Call for the vote?
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Knox.
Yes.
Councilmember Carl.
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman.
Yes.
Mayor Weil.
Yes,
Motion is passed.
thank you. Now, Councilmember Knox.
Chief. I just had a question about these expired state temporary tags. And I know that there's a lot of cities that are starting to enforce that. Have we talked about it or are we doing?
So there has been, last year, we kind of moved to a little bit of a model where people who had received a ticket within the previous 3 months for that same violation, we would not issue summonses to, just because we see that happen where you know, people who oftentimes can't afford a lot of the liabilities that come with a vehicle and driving, you would see some of those tickets just mounting up continuously to where they would get into court and be unable to pay and ever get caught up and kind of out of that hole. So our officers are enforcing those violations again, but we do, like I said, give drivers a break if they have already been cited within the previous few months, just because of course you could cite somebody day after day after day.
Sure.
Technically, so that's how we've approached it.
Okay, thank you.
So
think
let
that's
me
very
give you a
compassionate.
personal, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I think that's very compassionate. I think that's a good thing to do. I've been in a position like that before. And it's good that we're doing that. I appreciate that.
So let me give you the personal example that happened this weekend. So we get pulled over in a truck, a maroon truck, which is the spouse's vehicle. And the officer in Olivet says, you don't have any tags. Where's your tags? And this truck works in the city of St. Louis. And sure enough, again, her tags were taken off of the plate for like the third time. And the officer went ahead and ran plate to see that she did get replacement tags and did tags, the tags that go on the license plates. So my point is, the officers are compassionate, they are understanding, besides, you know, your concern of the plates and being licensed properly. I can only attest to, yes, they are pulling folks over. Yeah, and being compassionate at the same time.
And that definitely does happen more often than we'd like, where tags
Thank
plates
you.
are being stolen, so.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 15, patrol laptop computer replacement.
It is me again, Beth Andruski, Chief of Police. So this agenda item is for replacement of all of our patrol vehicle. There's 7 patrol vehicles that have laptops in them. As in the description, this is a little bit ahead of what we anticipated as far as the replacement cycle. The new CAD system has put a bigger burden on our computers, and basically they're just not able to fully handle all of what's going through them. This item did end up coming in under what we had anticipated for the budget, which was $60,000 due to reduction in the cost of equipment and our ability to reuse some of the equipment that we had. So the total price we're looking at is under $40,000 versus the anticipated 60. So I have the unusual item of something under budget. So so I would just ask for approval of the $39,375 for the purchase and upfit of 7 Panasonic laptops for patrol vehicles. And that includes the cost of the computers themselves, IT work, and then the actual installation from our vehicle outfitter. And I'm happy to answer any questions on that also.
Are there any questions?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve $39,375 for the purchase and upfit of 7 Panasonic laptops for patrol vehicles. Use as follows: turnkey mobile, $33,768. Certified nets, $4,200, and the Lights and Sirens Guys LLC, $1,407. That's it, I guess.
Second motion.
Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox.
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil.
Yes,
The motion is passed.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Whose CAD? Is this the county's CAD or is this our CAD?
Dispatches CAD.
Okay, thank you.
Next item, please.
Item 16, hearing from citizens, part 2.
Okay, is there anyone that would like to speak this evening? Okay, thank you. Next item.
Item 17, review and acceptance of minutes.
Didn't see any.
Did anyone see anything? Okay, I'd be happy to entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve council minutes from January 30th, 2024, and work session minutes from February 6th, 2024.
Second the motion.
Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Knox,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Waldman,
Yes.
Mayor Weil.
Yes,
The motion is passed.
thank you. Next item.
Item 18, city attorney's report.
Leah Paulson.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
I have no report, no need for a closed session.
Okay, yeah, well, in that case, I'll be happy to entertain a motion.
So
to
moved.
adjourn.
Second.
We're
Eric.
adjourned.
All righty.